Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes China's Ping and Bank names 41 developers in funding support list. Baidu recoups some losses as analysts see sell-off overdone. China's wealth fund vows to play role in stabilizing markets. Beijing tells some investors not to sell as Chinese stock rout resumes. Asset manager Blackstone to expand private equity headcount in Singapore. China's Ping and Bank names 41 developers in funding support list. Bloomberg. Ping and Bank, one of China's major lenders, has put 41 firms on a list of developers eligible for its funding support, according to anonymous insiders. The move marks the latest attempt to rescue China's struggling property sector, as Beijing steps up efforts to ease a cash crunch among builders. The list includes both state-backed and private sector companies, including Poly Property Group, China Vanke, and Jindal Corporation. Ping and Bank has instructed its departments and branches to extend full lending support to the developers on the list. Baidu recoups some losses as analysts see sell-off overdone. Bloomberg. Baidu's stock price rose by as much as 4.3% on Tuesday, recovering some of the losses it suffered after a report linked the company to Chinese military AI research. The report suggested that Baidu's AI system had been tested by a university affiliated with the People's Liberation Army's Strategic Support Force. Baidu denied any affiliation or partnership with the institute, and analysts have suggested that investors may have overreacted to the news. However, some experts believe that the doubts raised by the report may continue to impact Baidu's stock price. Baidu is considered a leader in China's AI sector and launched its own AI system, Ernie, in 2023. However, the company is currently facing challenges in its online advertising business. China's wealth fund vows to play role in stabilizing markets. Bloomberg. China's sovereign wealth fund, China Investment Corp. (CIC), has pledged to help with risk mitigation and market stabilization in 2024, indicating that state companies are playing a bigger role in boosting the country's struggling stock market. Central Huijin Investment, the unit that holds government stakes in major financial institutions, will coordinate these tasks in order to strengthen state financial capital. The move comes as overseas investors have resumed selling onshore stocks due to pessimism over China's sluggish economic recovery. The CIC said that it achieved value preservation and growth of state-owned financial capital last year, but did not provide further details. Beijing tells some investors not to sell as Chinese stock rout resumes. Financial Times. Chinese authorities have reportedly told some institutional investors not to sell stocks, as regulators face renewed pressure to stabilize share prices after a steep decline in the first weeks of 2016. Since October, market regulators have been providing private instructions to some investors, preventing them from being net sellers of equities on certain days. Such restrictions on selling helped to spur a rebound of about 3% for the benchmark CSI 300 stock index in the final week of 2015. However, as the curbs were eased in the new year, the index completely reversed those gains and is down more than 4% this month. Asset manager Blackstone to expand private equity headcount in Singapore. South China Morning Post. Blackstone plans to double its employee headcount in its private equity business in Singapore over the next 2 years, according to Amit Dixit, Blackstone's Asia PE business head. The expansion is part of Blackstone's strategy to tap into the growing number of deals in Southeast Asia and bring the asset manager closer to its investor base. Blackstone will focus on sectors including technology, healthcare, consumer, financial services, and value-added industrial, and will look at deal sizes as small as $150 million. The firm has been operating in Singapore for over a decade and currently employs over 100 professionals. Crypto firm Hashkey secures $100 million funding, exceeds $1 billion valuation. Yahoo! Hong Kong-based cryptocurrency exchange Hashkey Group has raised nearly $100 million in a Series A financing round, bringing its valuation to more than $1.2 billion. The funds will be used to strengthen the company's Web3 ecosystem, diversify its product offering, and support global growth. Hashkey became the first licensed crypto trading exchange in Hong Kong to offer its services to retail users in August. Gore-Tex to open Vietnam factory as part of Apple's supply chain diversification. South China Morning Post. Apple supplier Gore-Tex plans to invest up to $280 million in establishing a wholly owned subsidiary in Vietnam. The new entity will manufacture consumer electronics products including AirPods, smartwatches, and virtual and augmented reality gear. Gore-Tex's move comes as Apple looks to shift more of its production outside of China, following disruptions to its supply chain caused by COVID-19 restrictions. The Vietnamese subsidiary is expected to be located in Bac Ninh province, which has attracted investment from a number of South Korean firms. Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific signs up 100 new mainland Chinese cabin crew. South China Morning Post. Cathay Pacific Airways has hired 100 cabin crew members from mainland China through its first recruitment drive in the country. The new recruits are part of the airline's plan to hire 1,500 staff from across the border by 2025. The move comes after Cathay Pacific laid off 5,300 people in October 2020 and shut its regional airline Dragonair due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The airline has since launched a recruitment drive to make up the shortfall and plans to hire 5,000 workers in 2024. Banks to waive fees for Hong Kong airport operators $640 million retail bond. South China Morning Post. Retail investors in Hong Kong are benefiting from waived fees to subscribe to Airport Authority Hong Kong's $5 billion Hong Kong dollars, $640 million bond issue. HSBC is waiving 8 different charges for investors in the airport operator's bond, including subscription fees and safe custody costs. Other banks including Bank of China, Citibank and Standard Chartered, as well as brokerages, are also waiving fees for investors. The bond's popularity is expected to be high as it offers quarterly interest payments and flexible redemption. Blackstone to expand Singapore private equity team. Nikkei Asia. Blackstone plans to double the headcount of its private equity business in Singapore over the next 2 years in order to tap into the growing number of deals in Southeast Asia. The expansion will also bring the asset manager closer to its investor base, which includes sovereign wealth funds, family offices, and individual investors. Blackstone sees opportunities to invest and build businesses in Southeast Asia, particularly in sectors such as technology, healthcare, consumer, financial services, and value-added industrial. The firm has been operating in Singapore for over a decade and is one of the largest private equity players in Asia. China skeptics are gearing up for a sudden rebound in stocks. Bloomberg. Some investors are preparing for a short-term rebound in Chinese stocks after the recent rout, as valuations have become attractive. Bell Asset Management, which has been bearish on Chinese stocks for years, is now considering buying large tech stocks, including Tencent Holdings. JP Morgan Asset Management and BlackRock also see potential for a rebound once the earnings cycle improves. However, many investors are still wary of direct exposure to Chinese stocks and are turning to options to hedge for a potential upswing. Frozen Russian assets could be easy Ukraine funding, says U.S. envoy. South China Morning Post. The U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine's economic recovery, Penny Pritzker, has said that tapping frozen Russian assets would be an easy source of money for Kyiv, but that the G7 must first agree collectively to do it. Ukraine has called for the West to seize $300 billion in frozen Russian assets to pay for its reconstruction. However, the G7 has said that any confiscation is fraught with legal problems. The US is said to support the move, but faces resistance from European countries, who fear that Russia and other nations will stop trusting the West as a safe place for their money. First FT, Houthis hit US-owned cargo ship. Financial Times. The Houthi rebels in Yemen have struck a US-owned cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden, marking the first direct assault on a commercial vessel since US and UK forces launched airstrikes against the rebels last week. This attack will increase concerns about the safety of ships transiting through the Middle East's waterways. The Houthis have already disrupted maritime trade through the Red Sea after carrying out around 30 attacks on commercial vessels since November. They have vowed to respond aggressively to the US and UK airstrikes. The Iran-backed group said that it will continue targeting ships in response to Israel's offensive against Hamas in Gaza. China's surprise interest rate inaction is a missed opportunity. Bloomberg. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, missed an opportunity to address deflation concerns in the country by holding key interest rates steady, according to a Bloomberg opinion piece. The article argues that even a small cut in rates would have signaled that the PBOC was taking action to address the issue. China has been grappling with declining consumer prices for several months, and the recent deflationary streak is the longest since 2009. The PBOC's decision not to act raises concerns about its ability to turn around the underperforming economy. China set to reach 2023 growth goal as focus shifts to new year. Bloomberg. China's GDP is expected to have increased by 5.2% for 2023, in line with the government's target of around 5%. However, economists are expecting growth to slow to 4.5% this year without more aggressive stimulus. The real estate sector remains the biggest threat to growth, and infrastructure spending will need to pick up to counter the drag. Policymakers need to take decisive actions to turn around the property sector, and economists are calling for stronger fiscal policy to bolster growth. The central bank may also cut the reserve requirement ratio if the U.S. Federal Reserve starts cutting rates this year. Hey there, it's your friendly neighborhood 6 doctor here with your daily dose of news from the six-dimensional world. Let's dive right in, shall we? First up, Ping An Bank has named 41 developers eligible for its funding support, as China tries to rescue its struggling property sector. It's like a superhero swooping in to save the day, but instead of capes, we have banks and money. Because, money solves everything. Next, Baidu's stock price has gone up after a report linked the company to Chinese military AI research. Analysts say the sell-off may have been overdone, but who knows? It's like a roller coaster ride, but instead of screams of joy, we have analysts scratching their heads. China's sovereign wealth fund, China Investment Corp, has pledged to help stabilize the markets. It's like a financial superhero coming to the rescue. But instead of wearing a spandex suit, they wear suits made of money. Because that's what superheroes wear, right? Chinese authorities have reportedly told some investors not to sell stocks as the stock rout continues. It's like a game of hide and seek, but instead of hiding behind trees, investors are hiding behind their stocks. Will they be found? Only time will tell. Blackstone plans to expand its private equity business in Singapore. It's like a game of Monopoly, but instead of buying properties, they're buying companies. And instead of passing go and collecting $200, they're passing go and collecting billions of dollars. Must be nice. In other news, Hong Kong-based cryptocurrency exchange Hashkey Group has raised $100 million in funding. It's like finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, but instead of gold, it's cryptocurrency. And instead of a leprechaun guarding it, it's a bunch of investors. Apple supplier Gore-Tex is opening a factory in Vietnam as part of Apple's supply chain diversification. It's like a puzzle, with Apple trying to fit all the pieces together to make their products. And Vietnam is the missing piece, bringing it all together. Can you feel the excitement? Cathay Pacific has hired 100 new cabin crew members from mainland China. It's like a family reunion, with Cathay Pacific welcoming their new members with open arms. And instead of hugs and kisses, they get safety demonstrations and beverage service. Close enough. Retail investors in Hong Kong are getting waived fees to subscribe to Airport Authority Hong Kong's bond issue. It's like a sale at your favorite store, but instead of clothes and shoes, it's bonds. And instead of discounts, it's waived fees. Savings for everyone. And finally, some investors are preparing for a rebound in Chinese stocks after the recent rout. It's like a game of poker, with investors betting on a winning hand. Will they hit the jackpot or fold? Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a wrap for today's news. What do you think about all these happenings in the six-dimensional world? Do you have any thoughts or questions? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay tuned for more news from the six-dimensional world. This is the Sixth Doctor, signing off. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the Sixth Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of Six Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the Six Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize Six Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, sixdobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive Six Do Brief via email.